Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Survive the Night. I wanted to say Shiver, even though this is like the exact opposite of Shiver. Maybe. We don't know if it's supernatural in origin or not. Yet. I haven't read ahead, except for the part where I had started reading up to. I haven't looked it up, although I might. I don't know. Anyway. What was I going to say? Sorry that there wasn't an upload. Yesterday I explained in the other book that I was reading that I had stayed up the previous night reading the new Harry Potter book, and then woke up late, and then got distracted by the Harry Potter movies and Pokemon Go, and yeah, anyway. We are in chapter 5, page 54. Guys! Aya wobbles over to the rickety wooden chair sitting in front of a dumpster. Uh-oh. Her spiky heels dangle from one hand, and black gunk stains the bottoms of her feet. Just looking at them makes me gag. I'm gonna throw up. She's gonna get chlamydia of the foot, Julie says, twisting the onyx ring on her finger. Maybe we should buy her some flip-flops. I stare down at a bright blue gob of gum on the concrete. There are probably millions of diseases you could pick up on these sidewalks, but shopping's not really an option out here. We took the subway into Lower Manhattan, and it looks like a completely different city. The cute brick apartment buildings and tiny community parks have disappeared. Huge, empty office buildings stand in their place, their windows dark. They tower over us, cold and austere? I don't know. I wrinkle my nose and look away, dimly wondering how much longer we have to do this before officially giving up. Turns out the guy Woody knows is just someone he overheard talking back at the cog. We've been searching for the secret entrance to survive the night for over an hour. That tingly, excited feeling I had when we left the cog factory has faded. This whole thing was supposed to be about talking to Sam, but the only thing Sam said to me was, "Watch out," when I almost stepped in refuse. I sigh and a strand of hair flutters away from my face. I can just make out Sam kneeling at the far end of the alley as he and Woody try to pry open a manhole cover. I should go over to help them, maybe even find a way to brush Sam's arm or lean against his shoulder, but the thought of making the first move turns my stomach. I need to find a way to get his attention. I loop my arm through Julie's. "Are you still going to that SAT tutor?" I ask. "Crag something?" "You mean Chris?" Julie scuffs the toe of her combat boot into the dirty concrete. The boots give her a good 2 inches of height, but her loose-fitting jeans still drag along the streets. "Right," I say. Sam glances over his shoulder at us. Before we broke up, he was always saying I needed to focus more on college. I raise my voice. "Chris, do you think he has room for one more student? I'm a little behind." Shana stops at the industrial door to one of the warehouses and jiggles the handle. The loud metallic rattle cuts me off. She's been doing this for the last 20 minutes, hoping someone left the door unlocked so we can sneak inside and explore. Sam glances at her and shakes his head, then turns back to the manhole cover. Disappointment stabs through me. "Give it up, Shana." Or Shana. I never did figure out which. I guess Shana would have a U in it, wouldn't it? Huh. Didn't think about that. Where was I? I kick an empty Sprite can at her. It rattles across the alley and smacks into the door. "Where's your sense of adventure?" Shana, I guess, asks, jiggling the other door handle. "At home with my comfy shoes," I mutter, glaring down at my studded leather flats. They pinch my toes, and my feet ache from all the walking. A corner booth at IHOP and a stack of 20 strawberry pancakes is sounding pretty good about now. Guys, look! Aya drops her shoes to the ground and scrambles onto the ledge of a dumpster, flashing us her bright pink panties. What? Look, I'm so high. I'm confused. I don't like these people. Maybe Sam's not too bad. I glance over at Sam. He pulls at the manhole cover, grunting. I sigh, relieved that he isn't paying attention to my friends. How much did she have to drink? I ask. Julie shrugs. I don't think she had anything, but I gave her one of these. She pulls out a wrapped candy out of her pocket and hands it to me. It looks like a Jolly Rancher, except the wrapper is plain, unmarked, yellow. Uh-oh. Great, I say, turning the candy over. What's in it? Nothing, just a little pot. I don't think she understands what the word nothing means. Anyway, Julie takes the candy back from me, unwraps it, and pops it into her mouth. Barely any. Aya can't handle her drugs. There we go. Sorry. Aya stands, spreading her arms out to either side. Her hair falls loose from her whatever it is, and her cardigan slips off one shoulder. She wobbles on the edge, too close to falling inside with the rotting garbage. Let me help you down, sweetie. I grab her legs to hold her steady. She blinks like she can't quite remember where she is, and takes my hand, half stepping, half falling into my arms. I groan beneath her weight. Shana giggles. What giggles? Jiggles another door handle. This one creaks open. Oh my gosh. She pushes the door all the way open and steps into the warehouse. Score! Shana, don't. I stare into the darkness behind her. You don't know what's in there. Exactly, Shana says. And if you don't come after me, I could die. Sounds like my sister. My sister is kind of morbid. Where was I? She wraps her hands around her neck and sticks out her tongue, backing into the warehouse. She leaves the door open behind her. Sam says something to Woody, and the two of them head farther down the alley. Great. I watch him walk away, then glance back at the warehouse door. Shana, I call. Aya starts giggling and tries to climb back onto the dumpster. My friends seem to be competing over who can embarrass me the most tonight. You sit, I tell Aya, pointing to the ground. Julie, help her get her shoes back on. I'm going to get Shana. I like that I immediately just switched to that. Anyway. Then, before either of them can argue, I hurry across the alley and step into the warehouse. Crumpled up magazines and empty McDonald's containers litter the floor. Silver light slips through the cracks in the cupboard taped over the windows. I hesitate at the door, reluctant to move farther inside. Shana! I hiss. It's too dark to see anything, but hulking shadows. A crowbar leans against the wall just inside the door. I grab it and hold it in front of me like a weapon. The cold metal bites into my palms. I take a tentative step inside. For some reason, I'm reminded of Mountainside. After Raquel died, I got a new roommate, this girl named Tanya. Tanya was a sleepwalker. A couple of times a week, she'd creep out of bed and disappear into the clinic. The nurses told me I didn't have to look for her, but I couldn't help it. Not after what happened to Raquel. I couldn't sleep if I didn't know where Tanya was. I'd lie in bed picturing all the different ways she could die. Well, maybe she's not so bad after all. At night, Mountainside was a chilling place. The floorboards creaked and shadows stretched across the long, narrow halls. I'm getting dizzy. And then there was the screaming. Withdrawal was the worst during the night. Girls would sob and mutter to themselves and scratch at their doors. The sounds echoed around me as I crept past their dorms, calling Tanya's name. I blink and my eyes start to adjust. I'm not at Mountainside. I'm in the gross warehouse with Shana. Sorry. Wow. Whatever did that to my head really messed with my head. Sorry about that. Where was I? A bare mattress lies in the corner, a large black stain spread across its surface. Someone died there. I look away. Just dirt, I mutter under my breath, knowing that's not true. I move farther into the warehouse, tightening my grip on the crowbar. Nerves climb the backs of my legs, making my knees feel weak. Something flickers at the corner of my eye. I whirl around, swinging the crowbar. A cat leaps from the windowsill to the floor, its paws silent on the concrete. Thick yellow pus oozes from a wound on its side and clumps in its fur. Oh, that's really sad. My stomach churns. The cat watches me with glassy eyes. Curses, I whisper. I move deeper into the warehouse, careful to step around the trash littering the floor. I listen for movement or for Shana's familiar, throaty laugh, but I can only hear my own ragged breathing. The crowbar nearly slips from my sweaty hands. The space is smaller than I expected, just one room about the size of a garage. A second door stands ajar at the side wall, sending a sliver of light through the darkness. Something shuffles through the trash next to me. Every muscle in my body tightens. I spin around. Shana? I whisper. I hold my breath and raise the crowbar. No one answers. I step forward, wiping a sweaty hand on my jeans. Dimly, I remember the screams echoing through mountainside. Goosebumps. Your eyes on my arms. A crumpled up piece of newspaper rustles. I wrap my fingers around the crowbar again. Shana, is that you? A second cat appears beneath the newspaper and darts for the door. I breathe a sigh of relief. To heck with this place. Shana can live here for all I care. I lower the crowbar and edge around the pile of blankets. The blankets move and an arm shoots out and grabs my ankle. I scream and whip my crowbar around. It slips from my hands and clatters to the floor. A man with a cracked, ashen face peers out from the nest of blankets. He's missing an eye. The skin over the socket looks shiny and raw. It grows mottled around his cheekbone and forehead. Flaps of puckered, blackened flesh jut off his face. Okay, so 2 pages ago is where I left off, in case you were wondering. Fear grips my chest. My heart thuds, and I can't seem to find my voice. I feel like I'm in a dream where I want to scream, but I can't. Except this isn't a dream. I glance over at the crowbar, but it's too far for me to reach. Your friend went that way, the man says in a gravely voice, nodding at the door. He lets go of my leg and burrows back under the blankets. I run for the door. Well, at least he was polite. I burst into the cool night air, and there's Shana leaning against the alley wall. There we go. She takes a puff of her cigarette and blows the smoke through her teeth. Another homeless man stands next to her, dirt and grease line his face, but he's younger than the one-eyed man I just saw inside. Thick blonde dreadlocks hang down his back, and he has plastic grocery bags knotted around his feet instead of shoes. The tension drains from my shoulders, but adrenaline still pounds through my veins, leaving me hot and jittery. My heart beats like crazy. It's almost like being high. I wouldn't know. I'm going to kill you, I say, letting the warehouse door slam behind me. Shana flicks her cigarette, sending a shower of ash to the ground. Then why are you smiling? She asks. I bite my lip. It's that giddy thing again. I can't get scared without grinning like an idiot. Huh. Besides, the warehouse was kind of exciting, in a terrifying way. I want you to meet my new friend, Shana says. Casey, this is Lawrence. The homeless man flashes me a peace sign, quietly humming under his breath. Shana passes him her cigarette, and he takes a deep drag. What? Hi, I say. Lawrence tries to hand the cigarette back to Shana, but she waves him away. Keep it, she says. Case, you'll never guess what Lawrence just told me. I raise an eyebrow, waiting. Uh-oh. Lawrence was telling me about this alley a couple of blocks over. Shana stands on one foot, scratching the back of her leg with her boot. Get this, the alley was singing. Humming, Lawrence interrupts, his voice deep and melodic. I'm not even going to bother. He takes another puff Shana's cigarette. The alley was humming, not singing. There weren't any words. That's right, Shana says. Don't you think that's crazy, Casey? I don't know. A humming alley. Humming, I repeat. Shana gives me a comically slow, intentional wink, and something clicks inside my head. Wait, you mean there was music playing under the alley? Lawrence frowns. I guess it could have been music, he says. I jog to the corner and peer down the opposite alley. Woody crouches in the middle of the street, his head pressed against the manhole cover. The cow costume still hangs from his waist, looking worn. Dirt and grease stain the limp tail and the cow's white ears. I don't think this is it, he mutters. Sam stands over him, frowning. I'm telling you, he said. Covert Street, not Cooper Street, he says. Maybe. Woody pushes himself to his feet and heads farther down the alley. He kicks a beer can, and it skitters behind a dumpster. Guys, I shout at them. Shana found something. Sam and Woody jog over to us, Aya and Julie trailing behind them. Aya's only wearing one of her shoes and carrying the other. She loses her balance when she tries to walk and stumbles into Julie, giggling. What's up? Sam asks. Woody stares at Lawrence's grocery bag shoes as Shana repeats the story of the humming alley. Woody pulls his wallet out of his back pocket and removes a $20 bill. Lawrence, my man, how do you like to make some money? He asks. Lawrence leads us through the darkened Manhattan streets to another alley several blocks over. Woody walks beside him, but Sam lags behind. Now is my chance. I fumble with my turtle necklace and hurry up next to him. Hey, I say, nudging him on the shoulder. Hey, he says back. Usually his voice is casual, and even a little cocky. Now it sounds strained. I roll my lower lip between my teeth, and silence stretches between us. It's like my life. So, I cough awkwardly. How's school? Sam shrugs. His jeans hang low on his hips, and his shirt's a little wrinkled, like he dug it out of the back of his dresser. Same, he says. Any news about James? I ask. James is Sam's older brother. He was the one that taught Sam to play the guitar, but he's a meth addict, and he disappeared right before graduating high school. He's been MIA for a little over a year. Because of him, Sam never touches drugs. He doesn't even drink. Sam glances up at me. Some of the tightness leaves his jaw. Nothing new, he says in a voice that sounds a little more like normal. Heard he was in California, but who knows? Sympathy tugs at my chest. He hasn't called? Once. Sam pinches the bridge of his nose between two fingers. It was weird. He didn't even sound like himself. I rubbed my thumb over Myrtle's shell. Tori Ann, from Mountainside, was a meth addict. She spoke with a lisp because the drug had rotted all her teeth. Ew. I'm sorry, I say. Sam shakes his head. Don't be, he says. You didn't do anything. Woody calls Sam's name, and Sam jogs up next to him, leaving me alone. Shana nudges me with her arm. So cute, she says. I stare at the back of Sam's neck, where his hair brushes against his collar to his shirt. You never thought so before, I tell her. Back when we were dating, she used to call him that little puppy who follows you around. She told me to find him a new home. Shana winks at me. Oh yeah, the cow costume's a total turn-on, she says. And I realize she's talking about Woody. The jealousy I felt fades away. Awkward. It's probably the others, I say. Shana loops her arm through mine, and the two of us fall in line behind Julie and Aya. There we go. I almost said Arya. You should have seen how he looked at me, I whisper, when the others were out of earshot. Shana frowns. Who? Sam? She asks. I shoot her a look. Of course, Sam. How did he look at you? I shrug, not sure how to explain it. I think of the tightness in his jaw, the strange sound of his voice. Like I'm broken, I finally say. Shana raises an eyebrow. Like I remind him of James, I add. Shana brushes the hair back from my face and kisses my forehead. You're nothing like James, she says. You weren't there, I say. My voice cracks and I have to stop and take a breath. I don't want to cry in front of Shana, not with Sam just a few feet away, but I don't know how to talk about Mountainside without bringing up all these weird emotions. Those girls in rehab, I continue. They were. Stop. Shana cuts me off. They might have been broken, but that doesn't mean you are. You're stronger than that. I don't answer right away. Her voice gets harder. Do you understand? I sigh and nod, wanting to believe her. Ahead of us, Julie leans her head back, staring up at the sky. Dark curls trail down her back. She hums Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star under her breath. I am not comfortable with these people. This is where you belong, Shana adds. Shana. With us. Tell me you didn't miss this. Wandering around New York in the middle of the night? I ask. It's like 11, hardly the middle of the night, and I meant hanging with your friends, going on an adventure. Shana elbows me. Remember that night at the playground? I groan, thinking about the time Shana showed up in the middle of the night and woke me by throwing pebbles at my window. She used to do that sometimes when she and her mom had a fight and she needed to get out of the house to cool down. I had expected her to take me to some illicit party, but instead she drove to the playground 2 blocks away. She grabbed my arm and pulled me over to the swing set. Race you, she said, plopping down on a swing. To where? I asked. Shana shrugged. The moon. Shana swung higher and higher, pumping her legs until the chains groaned and the swing set lurched in place. Then, when she was so high it looked like she'd tip over and fall backward, she jumped. She fractured her ankle in 3 places. I had to carry her back to the Buick and drive her to the hospital. I called her mom at least 7 times, but she never even picked up the phone. My mom answered on the first ring. I'd prefer not to end up in the emergency room tonight, I say, leaning my head on Shana's shoulder. Maybe this adventure can end with food. Man cannot live on bread alone, Casey, she says. What about pancakes? I'm pretty sure a man can live on pancakes. A rat scurries across the alley. It's Pinktail whipping behind it. It freezes in the middle of the street and stares at us with red eyes. Holy moly. I take a quick step back. Aya screams and stumbles over her feet. Julie bursts out laughing but grabs Aya's arm so she doesn't fall. The rat twitches its nose. I flinch. I imagine it darting toward us, snapping its long, sharp teeth. But it creeps along the curb and out of sight instead. I sigh in relief. Shana takes a swig of Jack Daniels. It's just a rat, guys, she says, tucking the bottle back into her pocket. It's disgusting, Aya mutters. Julie kicks a can of soda into the shadows where the rat disappeared, and something darts across the pavement. Aya releases another high-pitched shriek, and Julie laughs even harder. Suddenly, Lawrence stops walking. He, Sam, and Woody crouch down in the street. This is it, Woody shouts, wiping the dirt off a manhole cover. The rest of us crowd around him. Feel that? Lawrence asks. Music vibrates through the ground, making the street hum. Cool, I say, crouching next to Sam. I'm close enough that I can smell him. The combination of soap and pine needles, that's kinda odd. Her smelling him, not so much what he smells like. Although, I guess that is a little odd. Where was I? The manhole cover's made of iron, with the City of New York logo stamped over the center. Someone has painted a neon pink X over it. Woody digs his fingers around the sides of the cover and yanks. Are you sure that's the right? Julie starts, but she lets the end of her sentence trail off when Woody grunts and he shoves the cover to the side of the hole. X marks the spot, he says, wiping his hands off on his costume. Shana grabs my arm and jumps up and down, squealing. Together we all peer into the darkness. A rickety metal ladder descends into the black. Far below I can just make out flickering candlelight and hear the distant sound of drumming. Something drips against the bottom of the tunnel, and the sound echoes toward us. Well, Sam says, leaning back on his heels. Who wants to go first? Okie dokie. I wonder what's going to happen next. I'm a little worried. How many people do you think are going to make it out of here alive? I mean, we've already got one confirmed death. And it could be that that's the only one. Did I say only one or Obi-Wan? I really like Star Wars, so it's kind of hard to know for sure anymore. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on where the story might be going, any insights that you think would be exceptionally useful, or just any insight in general, I suppose, let me know down in the comments. Speaking of which, I have a few comments I've fallen behind the last couple of days that I need to respond to. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know where you think we're going with this, what I should read next when this one's done, and if I should get part 2 in the Undead World trilogy. I don't think part 3 has been released yet. Anyway, until next time, goodbye everybody. Man, I'm tired.